Hello guys, welcome back to my channel ScientechHub. So today in this video, I'll be covering async await and callback queue and Microstack queue. These are also the important interview questions which is asked on Node.js. And I will be covering this topic one by one in this video. This will be a little bit long video. And if you have already idea on this topic, then you can skip the video and directly come into that point where you need the information regarding this topic. And also if you want, you can speed up the video so that it will be helpful for you. And also I will put the code, whatever code I will do for understanding this topic, I will put those code on GitHub branch. You can take the code from there so that you can check the code during your interview. Thank you guys. Let's proceed with the video. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today in this video, I'll be talking about async await in Node.js. Right. So in the previous video, I have already talking about promises in JavaScript. And you have seen that how I have implemented them, how to resolve multiple promises, then resolve and then reject in promises. So now in this video, I'll be talking about async and await. So for while doing coding with the promises, we have encountered one issue like multiple promises or occurring of the callback hill. This is really a certain concern which actually resolved in the ECMAScript latest version, which is these two key like async await, right? So async await is nothing but is you can say for handling promises, we came up with async and await, and also it makes code wise easier to implement and also helpful for the developer for building bigger applications and using Node.js in a wide manner. Right. So async await is similar to promise only. The way we are implementing the promises, same way we are implementing the async await. So as you have seen, I have already mentioned two functions. One is async function 1 and second one is async function 2. This set timeout functionality I have already mentioned in the previous video. So set timeout is nothing but it's a web browser functionality. It is for doing some delaying of the second, like it will be delaying that particular functionality for a particular time of second. Right, like in this cases, I have only mentioned I have doing some simple piece of code like console log async function 1, and then we are putting one delaying second of 1000 second in the second function, doing the same thing. We are putting one delaying function of 1500 second, right? And in the third function, what I am doing, call both the function for parallel processing. Okay, now here comes one catch. Like for await, as you see, await means it will two functions, so we have to go for one after another. So after the first function get executed, it will go for the second function one, right? But for if I want to process those two functions parallelly, like we don't want to wait, I mean there will be no dependency for one function with another function. Rather than we will be processing these two functions in a parallel way. So for that we always have to use the promise.all, and there can be multiple number of functions. There can be endless, there can be endless number of async function you can process through promise.all, right? Now as you see, like 1000 second is lesser than the 1500 second, so set timeout, it will delay for 1000 second and then it will print this particular line, right? And in here it will delay for 1500 second and it will print this particular line, right? Now I'm doing some console log in my command prompt like node async.js. Let's see what will be our output. Yeah, so it will be printing like first async function 1, in the second async function 2, and in the third it is calling this functionality. Okay, invoking this particular function, getting the result from this function. So results like result from async function 1 and result from async function 2, it is printing in last. So now why this async function 1 is printing earlier rather than async function 2 is because I'm putting lesser timeout second. Like the delaying second is 1000 second, and in here in the second example you see the delaying second is 1500 second, right? So that's why 1000 second is printing earlier and the 1500 second is printing later, and after that it is multiple way it is processing those two functions and it is printing the result, right? So this is all about, you can say, about async await. You can also check my promise video, promise and all promise. There I have mentioned few more cases. It will be helpful for you to understand the async await if you check out my promise video. Now with async functionality, let's make some DB, try to do some DB coding like DB. I have making some DB call like SQL model. It's a dummy code. It's not real, right? I'm just showing you how to do the coding with that. So let data, maybe in SQL model, I have one user table. So from there, I need some data. So what I will do, some SQL model dot user, and we'll be having some data. And in that case, you can put the await. It will be easier. But if instead of that, if you do some then catch, right? Then inside val, and maybe you have some dependency, like let ID equals, you are taking the value, and from value we are taking the ID, and we need to do one more call for this updation, right? We'll be doing some updation work with this ID, right? Then you have to call one more update function, right? So for that case, we need to put one more then catch. So one then catch inside another then catch. So there is a possibility of creating of occurring an callback hill, like one promise inside another promise. So then it will be, rather than that, we will go in a easier approach. So what we will do, if we need data, we will do ID equals to data dot ID. And if we want to pass like updation of that particular user, what we will do? We will do nothing like new data. Then we will be doing the same line, and we will do some update operation, user dot update, something like that. What field we will be want to update based on this ID. So this way total async functionality will work. Like basically, if you go for some application building, you definitely attach with some database, right? So for database calling, we are using the async await in this way, right? Okay, so this is most about the async await. This is not that much complicated if you understand the promise very well, right? Now, in this video, the main purpose, I'll be discussing about the callback queue, callback hill, microstack queue, and event loop, right? In Node.js interview, you will usually see interviewer will ask what is event loop. And so for discussing event loop, we have to see few more cases or few more scenario, right? Now let's come to this diagram. Okay, so I have made one diagram. This is, you can say, JS diagram. So for that, you have to understand how the JavaScript engine works, basically. So as you see, I have made one global execution context, or GEC, right? And this is, consider it as a web browser. Web browser means some Google Chrome web browser or Mozilla Firefox, whatever you want, you can consider. This is some web browser, Google Chrome web browser. In this web browser, like I have already told you, like set timeout, console, these are not a part of JavaScript. These are part of the web browser. So we are using those web browser functionality inside our JavaScript global execution context. How we are doing it? We are doing by introducing one global window global object. So window is a global variable which is already declared inside the JavaScript library, and we are using the window. So that means in this case, the moment we are doing the set timeout, before that we have to write one window dot set timeout, right? But we do not need to write the window thing because this is globally handled. The moment we are calling some web browser functionality, this window automatically or by default get called, right? So now let's see how this works. For that, I'll be showing you some piece of code. Console log. I'm printing like first line from scientechhubhub, right? Then second line from scientechhubhub. I'll be putting one set timeout function like set timeout, right? And here we are doing some console log operations. Hi from set timeout, right? Now what we will do? We will put some delaying time. Okay. Now I will run this code. Let's see what outcome it will show. Yeah. So now you see it is showing like first line scientechhub, and then it is directly printing the last line. It is keeping this middle line, and it is printing in the last. I think you basically get understand, like this set timeout, it is doing a delay of 1000 second, right? It is doing a delay of 1000 second, and after that it is printing. Here it is. So now I will describe you how this line by line code gets executed in the JavaScript engine. Now let's see. So as you see, we have fast console log, then we have one set timeout function. After that, we have one more set timeout function. So what it will go? So console is also a part of web browser, right? So JavaScript, this global execution context, it is calling the web browser console, and it is doing some console operation like console log, this line, right? After that, there is one callback queue, and we have one event loop. What event loop will do? Event loop will, so at first we have the console log. So that console log is coming inside the callback queue. Okay. So this callback queue, now this callback queue is a part of JavaScript. This callback queue is taking the data, that console log, and event loop is a functionality which is continuously monitoring that callback queue has any data or not. The moment this queue has some data, it is taking the data out from this callback queue and putting it inside the global execution context, or this GEC. What GEC will do? The moment it gets the data, it will take the data and it will process it as fast as possible, and whatever comes into it, it will execute quickly and make it out, right? And it will print that particular console log, right? So this way, this total functionality works. So let's see, repeat it one more time. What it will do, it will take the first console log inside the callback queue, right? At first, it is calling the web browser. From there, we are taking the console, like console through window global object, right? After that, we have callback queue inside the JavaScript. So that particular request gets stored inside the, get coming inside the queue. So I have one request inside the queue. Now what event loop will do? Event loop will continuously monitoring this queue, that whether this queue has some data or not. The moment it has some data, it is taking the data out from the queue and putting it inside the global execution context. And after that, the result is getting printed. The moment global execution context get the data, whatever comes inside it is just process it, executes it very quickly. And after that piece of code, and that particular result comes out of the loop, right? This way. So first line get implemented like this way. And now here is set timeout. So what JavaScript will do? It will, the moment set timeout function come, it in the web browser, it is starting one timer. It is starting one timer of 1000 seconds. Right. This 1000 second timer is started, and also the countdown like 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. It is already started inside the web browser. So till then it is waiting, right? But it will not wait, right? So it will go for the second line, this console. So it is checking there is one more second line, one more console log. So also the same procedure is happening. Event loop is checking whether there is a data. Now the first request get executed. Now the queue is empty. It will taking the second console log. The second console log is coming inside this place. Right. Now event loop taking that second console one and putting it inside the global execution context, and taking and global execution context process that as up, and then printing the data. And after that, it is still waiting for the timer. The moment 1000 second gets completed, it is going inside this callback function, taking the console log inside this, and it is also coming in. Now the queue is empty, so that set timeout data is the first priority. So this is the first one. It is coming in, event loop is checking that the queue has data, taking the data out from the callback queue and putting it inside the global execution context. This way, these three lines get printed. Okay, this is the whole structure actually working behind this three line of code, right? So I'm repeating it one more time. So taking the first console log at first. So at first, the console is a part of the web browser. So we are calling that particular console functionality through window global object. And after that, we have callback queue inside the JavaScript. That callback queue taking that console log inside the queue. And event loop, what event loop will do? It is continuously monitoring whether the queue has any data or not. The moment it is checking that queue has some data, it is taking the data out and putting it inside the global execution context. Global execution context is very fast, it's very quick. Whatever comes inside this, it is just processing as fast as possible and making the result out, right? And after that, so first console log is getting printed very fast. Set timeout is also a functionality of web browser. So it is the web browser is starting a timer of 1000 seconds. Now it is waiting. So meanwhile, it is skipping this line because the timer is already started and going for the next line. This one. This console log one. And now you can say that we have to wait until this second line is getting processed. No, because JavaScript is a synchronous programming language. It waits for none. Whatever it comes inside this, it just processes as fast as possible. So the timer has already started in the inside the browser. Meanwhile, we are going for the third line, console log, this line. Printing this console log inside this callback. It is checking event loop that whether it has any data or not. It is seeing that it has some data. We have a command of printing console log, the second line from scientechhub. It is checking, event loop is taking the data out from the callback queue and putting it inside the global execution context and processing it and making the result out. This way, total callback queue is working. Right. Now, here comes one question or one scenario, one catch you can say, right? Like in the UI, you will see that we have some registration form where you have to put our name, some address and something and all. After that, we have to put some submit button. So the moment I'm clicking the submit button, like add event listener, those things like DOM API. DOM API means that DOM API, you can say the HTML page, HTML pages, right? This thing also. So in the HTML page, maybe we have made some submit button and we are clicking on the submit button multiple times. That is also creating one callback. So that callback will like one after another callback is getting stored. Like if I press that submit button multiple times, one after another callback will getting stored. So in that case, what will happen? Okay. In that case, the system will go into the starvation, right? It will go into some starvation. So in that scenario, here comes the Microstack queue. Now, what is Microstack queue? So in simple manner, what is the difference between callback queue and Microstack queue? So if I want to say you in one word, then I can say the callback which are coming from promises that will be processed via Microstack queue. So what are the callbacks which will be coming from promises, right? So this is very easy. Like as you see, I have written one line of code for Microstack queue. This is a promise, and inside the promise, I'm putting some then. That means we are processing some callback functionality inside the promise, right? Now, if I run this piece of code, you will see first three line get executed very quickly and it is waiting for the 1000 second. Now, if I reduce the timeout second, you will see this time also set timeout gets printed in last manner, in last line, right? Is because the promises coming from the the callback coming from the promises which will be getting inside the Microstack queue, it has higher priority. So all Microstack queue always has higher priority than the callback queue. So event loop at first will monitor the Microstack queue. So once all the code of the Microstack queue get processed, after that it will go for the callback queue. So the moment we have some Microstack queue getting Microstack queue related promises, it will process faster. After that it will go for the callback queue. So this is one scenario. The promises which will be coming from the callback, which will be coming from the promises that will processed in the Microstack queue, and that will be having the higher priority than the simple callback. Right. Now, one more thing, there is a mutation observer. So what is mutation observer? If anyone have ever worked on the React.js project, so in the React UI or React UI, you will see like some animation kind of thing, some like if you check some particular boxes or some height, based on that, some animation will show. Those kind of thing, that is also a part of mutation observer. So those mutation observer things are also part of Microstack queue, right? So as you see, React is also very fast. The moment you press the Control S, save the file, it is just automatically getting refreshed. You don't have to refresh the file. The moment it will start show, that is also fast. So those things are also getting processed by a Microstack queue. So mutation observer, if you want to understand more about mutation observer, you can go some very active React UI, right, where more animation things and all getting used. Those are also part of Microstack queue based promises, right? So as Microstack queue has a higher priority, so the event loop has the same work. It will take the fast data from the Microstack queue, fast queue data, and checking and also doing the same work. It will check that Microstack queue is empty or it has data. The moment it has data, it is taking the data out from the Microstack queue and putting it inside the global execution of context. The moment global execution context has some data, it processes it as up and making the result out. Event loop is only for monitoring purpose. You can say this is the eye of JavaScript, or you can say this is a eye of callback queue. It is continuously monitoring the callback queue and Microstack queue. Whichever has the data, priority wise, it will process. As Microstack queue has a higher priority, it will take the data from the Microstack queue out and it process and make the result out, right? So this way, this complete JavaScript engine works. So for repeat, I'm repeating this one more time. Like, as we already know, like set timeout, console, some event listener, then some particular API call, some location URL, then DOM APIs. These are all part of, and also we have one more fetch. Fetch is for calling like external, you can say we have one more function which is known as fetch. Fetch is like for calling some external APIs, right? HTTP, some www, some URL calling. So for that, we use this fetch functionality. So fetch is also not a part of JavaScript. This is also part of the web browser fetch, right? But we can use this in our inside our JavaScript by the window global execution window object, which is a global object, which is a part of JavaScript global library, right? And also we have one callback queue inside the JavaScript. This callback queue is taking the request, putting the request inside the queue. Event loop is continuously monitoring the callback queue, taking the queue data and putting it inside the global execution context. Global execution context process the data and making the result out. Now there is one more queue, which is Microstack queue. Microstack queue is a queue which is taking basically process the data or basically process the callbacks which are coming from the promises. Also, it will process the data which will be coming from the mutation observer. Mutation observer is a part of the web browser or web UI related thing. Those things get processed through Microstack queue, and Microstack queue has a higher priority. So this queue data will process faster than the, process earlier than the callback queue, right? So it will take the data from the Microstack queue and putting an event loop has the same functionality, same work. It is doing again and again for both the queues. It will take the data from the Microstack queue and putting it inside the global execution context. Global execution context process the data and making the result out. So this way, complete JavaScript engine work. Now I have making some screenshot, putting some screenshot in this. If you want this screenshot, you can comment down below. I put this total code inside the GitHub branch. You can take the code from there. But for your better understanding, I also make some screenshot. So this is for callback queue. As you see, like console log are getting printed starting and ending. These two will get printed fastly. After that, the 0-second delay is getting printed. After that, the set time out 1000 second delay is getting printed. And callback diagram, same thing. The way we are checking, at first it is taking the first queue data, it will process global execution, it's the moment it gets empty, then it will go for the second queue data. Event loop has the only work, it is continuously monitoring the callback, the call stack, the callback queue and the Microstack queue. For this, it will be only viewing the callback queue. If it has data, it is taking the queue data out and putting it inside the global execution context, processing it. This way, this complete this complete line by line code execution, I have tried to make some small diagram for this. Microstack queue is the same thing, like the callbacks which will be coming from the promises. It will get processed faster. And after that, you can see like set time out, the direct callback is getting processed after the Microstack queue because Microstack queue has the higher priority. So the Microstack queue data will process faster, and after that, the other functionality will get processed, right? So this way, line by line, at first the first console log is getting printed, then the last line of console log, then set time out, then the promise is getting printed inside from the promise, and after that, the callback functionality, this is happening. This callback queue is happening, right? And also I made one callback diagram, the line by line code execution, I put it inside in a diagram manner so that it will be easy to understand. So this is all about callback queue, Microstack queue, event loop. Okay. So if you have any doubt or any questions about this or any feedback, you can put inside the comment. I will check out those and I will try to give answer inside the comment. And if you want to ask any question, then you can email me. Email is also in the description box. It will be better if you give me some feedback, like how I can make this video better or something like that, or any topic you have in your mind based on JavaScript or Node.js. I can also make video on that. Okay. In this video, till this only. In the next video, I'll be come up with some more advanced features of Node.js. Till then, good night. Thank you, guys.